So the man, the myth, the legend himself returns. And honestly, I've got to say, I actually really like the decision to make Sakamoto's quote unquote revival, put all of that weight back on him and bring him back to the man he was when all of this began, especially knowing that the conversation he had with the cow, suddenly, well, all of this is beginning to connect in my brain, and I do kind of love the way that this came together despite all that it took to get here, which is a cow reminding Sakamoto that you aren't who you were before. What gives you power now is something entirely different than what made you the peak assassin back in your heyday. You are completely different, but that doesn't mean that you aren't as strong as you were. If anything, now that you have so much more to protect, which is something that Shin learned last arc, and it's something that Sakamoto knew but had forgotten about. And honestly, it's been something that his character has been fighting against this entire story, which is why I think I like it so much. Since chapter 1, we have known that Sakamoto has been struggling with the two sides of his lives. The side that he is now, his retired assassin self that has a wife and daughter and wants to run a convenience store and live a peaceful life without hitmen constantly putting bounties on him. And also the side of him that is a ruthless killer that used to be the #1 assassin of all time, who his bare instinct is to be, again, completely unwilling to care about the state of others by killing them, and yet this entire time he's had to fight the urge to kill, the fight, the original feeling he's always had to be an assassin. That's kind of always been his issue. He wants to get back into the shape that he was before. However, he doesn't need to get back into the shape he was before, which is something that was hinted at way long ago when Sakamoto was training with Torres right before we got into the prison arc. When Torres went back to Sakamoto's house for dinner and Torres realized that Sakamoto was quote unquote holding back on him, it was when Sakamoto was in his house husband mode, when he was doing all of these chores and was mindlessly just second nature doing all of this insane crap that also his wife is shown to do. And this is his power now. As funny as it is, it makes sense that instead of going back to the past, Sakamoto instead needs to look to the future. Look at what he can do now as he is now. Once a cow has that nice kind of pep talk with him, reminding him what he fights for and also reminding him that he's the only one that can save Uzuki. He's the only one that can fight and stop his evil reign, even admitting that Uzuki is half-hearted evil as it is, as the cow personality inside of him is just a figment of his imagination used to make him kind of cope literally with the idea of what he's doing, which is why he's been suppressing that personality since he actually fully went through with his plans. Now, I've got to say, with Sakamoto days, the highlight has always been the fights. And I'm hoping that from this point on, that's what we can definitely get to, because I know a lot of us have been waiting for Nagumo versus Oki to kick back up. We have been teased Shishiba versus Gozu for a couple chapters now. Same with Osaragi versus Torres. But it seems like Osaragi might not actually be fighting Torres, which I'm okay with, because again, I really wanted Shin to fight Torres. He got paired up with Tanabata. However, I do like what's happening now, because now that we have Sakamoto back in the fray, as the helicopter gets fucking destroyed and blown up by a missile launcher, and Sakamoto jumps out of the helicopter, saving his family, and I guess just leaving Amane and Toramaru to fall to their deaths, I'm sure they'll be fine. It's you know what I mean? It's Sakamoto days. I don't think anyone's gonna get hurt from that fall from the helicopter. I do actually like the writing decision to have this newly realized Sakamoto in the final hour come back and be the one to defeat Torres, the order member that put a bounty on Sakamoto's life, that way he could eradicate his debt, right? I did my best to kind of mentally gymnastic away that Torres versus Osaragi made sense. However, seeing Sakamoto come back in all of his glory, and even though it's just absolutely ridiculous, he fucking uses his high-speed air blowing to just actually push the sand back through the blaster and completely blow up the weapon entirely. Just I will say, if Yuta Suzuki has been doing anything these last couple of chapters, he has been thinking outside of the box, that's for damn sure. Now that Sakamoto has realized that power that Torres saw so long ago, I think it just makes perfect sense for Sakamoto to show that power and show how much that power helps him grow by defeating the person that he couldn't beat all of this time before. For all of the twists and turns that these last couple of chapters have made, I've got to say I'm completely fine with it. I don't mind it whatsoever. in regards to what's going to be going on in the future, I am interested to see how Akira's story is now going to be completed, especially with Akao telling her to please just live a normal life, give up on being an assassin. I don't want you to follow in my footsteps because look at the life that it led me to live. I do want to say, I know a lot of people don't appreciate it. Rion and Uzuki's backstory is something that is near and dear to my heart. I think Yuto Suzuki cooked when he was writing that backstory for them, and just the fact that Rion understood that living a normal life was what she wanted at the end of the day. If she could have escaped the assassin life, that would have been the best way for her. But the moment that they fell down on their luck, they both went back to the assassinhood. One more job, one more kill. I just have to do this and then I'll live a normal life. How many one more last jobs would they have been honestly doing for the rest of their lives? It's something that you really have to think about. They both couldn't give that life up because it's all they knew. It's not their fault, but it is essentially what led to Rion's death, and also what led to Uzuki completely wanting to change the assassin way entirely and build this new JAA. Even though I think his entire reasoning, planning, and what he actually put into place just makes absolutely no sense and leads to more chaos and more issues. Either way, I think getting here to this point was a very important stepping stone for Sakamoto Days to do when it comes to the story. And I know everyone sometimes likes to pretend that the story doesn't have great writing, or it doesn't have decent character development, but I think moments like this prove that Yuto Suzuki is able to carve out awesome character moments for his people when he really tries and thinks about it. I don't think it's the highlight of the series. Again, that's always going to be choreography, the crazy art that I hopefully think we're going to get to now that we have transitioned into what will most likely be all-out hands, smoke, and warfare from here. Knowing that Sakamoto and Rion's final moments as Sakamoto finally becomes the best person that he can be for his family, I think it hit for me. I really did enjoy it, and I would love to know what you guys all think about this small little flashback, little connection, little fun, little wholesome moment we had to reawaken Sakamoto and get back into what may be, by golly, one of the best final arcs that we've gotten. Look at me with my crazy white people speak the last couple of chapter reviews. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you made it this far into the end, I really do appreciate it. I would love to hear your thoughts on what is amounting to be definitely the final arc of Sakamoto Days. And most importantly, if you haven't already, please hit that like button, hype the video, and check out any other weekly series you may read, like JJK Modulo, Kagurabachi, Don to Don, Gachi Akuta, Chainsaw Man, all that good stuff. And don't forget, there's plenty of other long form stuff like the main channel and the gaming channel. And I will see you in the next one. Peace.